Hey everybody, welcome to the Spoken with Steven Cast 2023, and as you can tell, I'm going to be talking about Doctor Who. In particular, I'm talking about Jodie Whittaker's era as the Doctor. Now, I know this is very divisive amongst the community of the Doctor Who fans, the Whovians, but I liked Jodie Whittaker's era. Let me start by saying that. I think Jodie Whittaker's era had a lot of ups and downs. The stuff I really liked, I enjoyed. The stuff that I didn't enjoy, it could have been better. I don't think Jodie Whittaker's era was the worst, far from it. I do think it was the one that felt like it was wanting to do something different. It was wanting to do something to shake up what we've seen before. Considering we had Stephen Moffat for a while at the time after having RTD, back when we had Eccleston and Tennant, and Stephen Moffat took over, he changed the tone of the show, he changed the vibe of it, and that he told the story that he wanted to tell. So, as with showrunners do, it's like, you're only there for a short time, so you make the show your own. And Chris Chibnall, he wanted to channel something personal from his childhood. One of the things in particular that he did, which is the one that most people had a problem with, is the Timeless Child arc. That you find out the Doctor's past isn't what the Doctor thought it was. The Doctor wasn't born on Gallifrey. The Doctor wasn't a Time Lord. This comes from Chris Chibnall's past of him finding out at a young age, I believe he was a teenager at the time, or even before that, that he was adopted, and he felt betrayed by that. He felt like, oh wow, my past isn't what I think it is. The people who I knew lied to me. So he channeled that for the Doctor, and I think that works well. The reason why I think the Timeless Child arc is brilliant is because it adds more mystery to the Doctor than what we thought before. What we thought was the Doctor's history isn't. And the idea that there was past versions of the Doctor that we'd never seen before, that's even better. Now, the thing is that I'm a little iffy about is the idea that the Doctor has infinite regenerations. Now, if this is the case, does that mean the Doctor can go on forever? Yeah. I think that's a good way of showing, like, hey, you're not limited to the 13 regenerations rule. But also the idea that I don't know, I'm kind of split on this. I think it's a cool idea, but at the same time, it almost makes the Doctor too OP. It makes it too overpowered. But really, that's more of a thing that they could fix later in the ride. Maybe explain that, oh, it's not unlimited, that there are limits. I think RTD can play with that one joke that he did when Matt Smith was in the Sarah Jane Adventures, when Clyde is talking to him, like, so how many times can you change face? Is it limited? And he goes, 507. And I'm like, well, maybe go with that. Just say, oh, it's 507, even though the Doctor was obviously just, lying, saying something just because they were in a dangerous situation. But I think they could play with that. Now, the other thing I liked about the Jodie Whittaker's era is when it got into the season 13 bit, the Flux. This was one that I really enjoyed, the idea that there's this cosmic thing that the Doctor created from their past that is coming back to bite them, which is the Flux, destroying the universe. That is really cool. I think the only issue I have with that one is afterwards they don't really address it, because yes, they end up stopping the Flux, but half the universe died. Half the universe is no longer there. And they don't really address it in the specials. And it feels like, oh, well, let's slide that under the rug. And the Doctor is like, oh, just no biggie. Even though I'm like, well, no, the Doctor probably would be upset about this, would obviously be haunted by this. And I think that this could read as, because Jodie Whittaker's Doctor was very, I would say, emotionally detached in a sense, where she, not that she didn't care or didn't, feel things. She obviously cared for her companions. She obviously cared for Brian, Graham, and Yaz, and Dan. She obviously cared for them. It's just the deal was, I think for her sanity, she had to almost put up this wall and this front of, hey, everything's fine, I'm smiling and everything's great. That she had to do that to protect herself. And that's fine, because that also plays into the Doctor. It plays into the character. And then when Tennant came in as the 14th, he was the most emotionally tormented. That you saw it, that he was burnt out. It affected him. I think one of the best scenes in the special with David Tennant is Wild Blue Yonder, when he just breaks down, and after he lets it out, he, continues going forward because he can't stop. But really, my complaints about Jodie Whittaker's era is just very minimal at best. I think the episodes that were the strongest, outside of the Timeless Child arc and the Flux arc, were probably the Dalek specials that they did. Now, I didn't really like the Time Loop one that they did. I think that was Eve of the Daleks, or... Yeah, I think. But the one where the Dalek comes back and has really cool story and created itself, and it was just a really cool one. And we also got to see more of Brian, the past of, his dad and their relationship dynamic, of how, they're strained and them trying to rebuild it. I really like that. I think that's where Chris Chibnall's writing is the strongest, is when he writes the relationships of the characters. I think that's a credit to Chris Chibnall as a writer there. I do think some of the episodes that I enjoyed, I love the Rosa Parks episode. I really liked the one where Yaz finds out about her family tree. Kablamit was one where I was like, I kind of like it, but that was one where that felt the most middle of the road kind of episode. I think season 12 was a brilliant season. I think the whole Lone Cyberman arc was cool, the 3-parter that did. Even though I felt like they really cut short a really awesome villain in the Lone Cyberman for the Master, which, take it or leave it, I didn't mind it so much because the Master is such a great villain, especially that version of the Master. I absolutely loved. And you can tell Chris Chibnall had a love for the John Pertwee era with that, that particular iteration of the Master. Bringing back his, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the device that shrinks people down. I think it's called the tissue compressor. I really like that they brought that back. And I think he's really good at writing Unit. So he's a strong writer in a lot of elements. I just think sometimes he gets a little muddled towards the finale, towards the ending. I think one of the big highlights of Jodie Whittaker's time as the Doctor was her final story, The Power of the Doctor. I think that is great. Now, someone did mention that they felt like Dan should have stayed longer instead of disappearing at Power of the Doctor, midway through, or at the beginning where it's like, hey, this is too much for me, I gotta go. I didn't mind Dan so much. I just felt like Dan was a bit of an afterthought, especially during the Flux deal. I felt like it probably would have been stronger had it just been the Doctor and Yaz, throughout the whole thing, going on an adventure, having to deal with the Flux, and maybe, when they got to the Weeping Angel story, obviously have that not Dan, but the other character, come in to be like, hey, I'm going to help you guys out, I'm in this with you, in it for the long haul. I just felt like Dan really felt like such a side character where it's like, oh yeah, we need a third member. When really we didn't. That's where I think I was like, no, because you could have just kept it with the Doctor and Yaz and then explored that relationship even more, because that was starting to become a thing. And fans love the Doctor and Yaz. Fans love, I can't remember what they call the ship of that, but I enjoyed it. I thought, this makes sense. A Doctor getting close to Yaz, even though some people wanted Yaz and Brian to become a thing, but I never really saw it as that. I always read them more as friends. Really, I think Jodie Whittaker's era, to me, was the one that was messy, but still overall enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. I really loved the Giant Spiders episode, even though some people say, oh, you can really relate that back to Planet of the Spiders, and Chris Chibnall didn't, which, again, felt like a bit of a missed opportunity, but hey, Chibnall wanted to make Doctor Who his own, and he did. He did. And he was open about some of the stuff that he messed up on, or some of the stuff that he felt he could have done better. Like, in particular, the finale of season 11, which he said was a first draft script. And when you watch it, it does feel like a first draft idea. And he said at the time he ran out of time to go back and refix it and fine-tune it. And really, that could have been a stronger finale had it actually been fine-tuned. Had it actually been maybe a couple more drafts, and it probably would have been a better fleshed-out finale. Because then it just kind of felt like not a finale. It just felt like another run-of-the-mill episode. And some people say, oh, well, there's the power of 3 happening all over again. I said this one, I'm not sure if I ever said it on here, but the power of 3 was not Chris Chibnall's fault entirely. That was because the actor that played the Shakri was really difficult to work with and was such an asshole, where they had him for 3 days, and he did everything to destroy the takes that they did. Basically making the footage that they shot with them unusable, where they couldn't use a lot of what was filmed, and some of the stuff they had to piecemeal together and change the ending. Like, originally, the Shakri was not supposed to be a hologram. That was something they had to change, and the Doctor solving it with a sonic screwdriver. Yeah, and the thing was, Chris Chibnall felt like he felt like he failed that one, because, like, well, I didn't want it to be solved with a sonic screwdriver, but it left us no choice, because we had to change the ending. We had to rewrite, the bulk of what the finale was supposed to be. And it does make me interested to see how things would have played out had they not gone with that actor, or had the actor actually not been a dick. Things would have probably been better. I still think Power of 3 is a very solid 11 story in Doctor Who. I like that in Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. I love the episodes that are more fun, and I like when Chris Chibnall writes Under Siege type scenarios. I really like the episode with the Patine. Yes, the Patine is a bit of a goofy little, alien, but kind of in an enjoyable way, where it's like, I love the idea of something cute and cuddly turning out to be the most vicious, dangerous thing. I think that's a fun idea, and it's sci-fi. You can play with that. I think that's what makes Doctor Who so fun. It can have these fun, silly ideas, and you just roll with it. I know I'm rambling and sidetracking on a lot of things, but really, that's all I just want to talk about. I think Jodie Whittaker's era of Doctor Who was a very solid era. I think it had really good stories and good potentials in a lot of places, and some of the stuff, it missed the mark, but I think, all in all, it was good. And Jodie Whittaker deserves more respect for her time as the Doctor than I think she was given, because a lot of people said the writing failed her. And that's true. Sometimes an actor or actress can only do so much with the material that's given. But I think when Jodie Whittaker was on and she really wanted to make the Doctor her own, she did fantastic. She did great. Really, that's all I have to say. I hope everybody has a great day, and I'll be back to talk more about Doctor Who whenever we get into Ncuti's era as the Doctor. I'm looking forward to seeing what Ncuti's going to bring, and I love his energy of the Doctor already, going off of the giggle, and looking forward to seeing the Christmas episode. So till then, see you guys later.